Let's talk about what's new in Canada. So, I don't know if you know this, but there are two things I want to talk about. First, there was some, I would say, update or addition to the Bill C9. So, we're going to talk about that. This time, it's about the hate speech, which we agree that there shouldn't be a hate speech on the internet, obviously, right? But the question is, who's going to say what's hate speech and what's not? Is it going to affect the freedom of speech? And who does it actually target, right? So we're going to talk about that. Another thing, which, in my own opinion, I think it's very suspicious that this hate speech edition happened on September 19th. And today, Prime Minister Mark Carney officially announced that he's gonna recognize, or that Canada's recognizing the state of Palestine. So we're going to talk about these two pretty big things that are going on in Canada, and I would like to invite you to leave a comment, because I did my research, but I'm still pretty confused, and there's a lot of theories that I have what it might mean for Canadians, Canadian residents, and just the situation in Canada. So, like I said, if you have opinion, different one, same one, more information than I do, feel free to comment. So we're going to use the split screen, and we're going to use the official source, which is Department of Justice Canada. Canada introduces legislation to combat hate crimes, intimidation, and obstruction. So like I mentioned, this happened on September 19th. And let's read just this little intro, because even that's pretty interesting. There is horrifying rise in hate crimes in our communities, and Canada will not tolerate anyone being made to feel afraid because of who they are, how they worship, or where they gather. Rising anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, homophobia, and transphobia have left too many people feeling unsafe in their own communities. Interesting. Honestly, I believe if you would ask Canadians and residents, probably even the refugees, I think the biggest issue in Canada right now is that we have this program. I don't know if it's officially called catch and release, but we do catch and release. We catch the criminal, and then we release him like he's a fish, right? And like we know about it, for example, in Vancouver, there's like everyone knows who's committing the crimes. There are people with like 14 records on their criminal record, and yet somehow cops are still letting them go. And it's all not because of the cops, but because of the bureaucracy, right? Because of the administration, because of our government, pretty much. So I don't know if, well, obviously, hopefully, you know what happened in the US with Irina, which was the Ukrainian refugee lady, young girl, just traveling from work on a, I think it was bus, if I'm correct, buses and train, public transformation, right? And there was a man behind her. I was just thinking how to call him. Usually I would use gentleman, but in this case, even man is pretty, I would say, polite. Anyway, this guy stood up and out of nowhere stabbed her multiple times, and she bled out. And then later we found out that he was pretty much kind of participating in catch and release. He had 14 records on his criminal record. Apparently he called 911 multiple times, that he wasn't mentally okay and he was afraid he's going to do something. But what the judge in the US did is they just let him go. 14 times. 14 times they just let him go until he murdered innocent girl. So I really think the hate crime in Canada, it's here for sure. But me personally, I think the issue is the justice system. I don't think hate speech law is gonna do anything good, because another thing is, who's gonna decide if it's really hate speech or if someone has a different opinion, because it can be manipulated really well. Like they keep saying that it's not taking the free speech away, but I guess we'll see about it. Anyway, let's continue with what they said, right? So anti-Semitism, we know why, right? Palestine, Israel, Islamophobia. Just remember this, because that's something we're gonna come back to eventually. Anyway, so to address this rise in hate, we're gonna make it a crime to intimidate and obstruct people from accessing place of worship, as well as schools, community centers, and other places primarily used by an identifiable group. I don't know if on this page they're explaining what they mean by identifiable group. It's not here. I'm gonna read that to you, what they mean by identifiable group. It's pretty much anyone. Here we go. Where did I see it? Over here. Identifiable group is defined as groups distinguished by color, race, religion, national or ethnic origin, age, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, or mental or physical disability. So literally anyone. Identifiable group is anyone. I'm kind of confused why they said color over here, like color of clothing or hair, or what's going on with that Canada. Doesn't matter. Next one, make hate-motivated crime a specific offense, ensuring such conduct is more clearly denounced and that offenders are held accountable. And make it a crime to willfully promote hatred against an identifiable group by displaying certain terrorism or hate symbols in public. So my question about this whole thing is, and I don't want to sound like a bigot, to me, the hate speech, again, is no, we shouldn't be doing it, right? We shouldn't intimidate someone. But my question is, we still have people who think it's impossible to be racist towards white people. Is this gonna protect everyone, including Caucasians? Including, look, I'm immigrant, but I'm Caucasian. So I'm literally, when you go through the application process for the job and you have to put like, are you visible minority? I'm not, because I'm Caucasian. But if you hear me, I'm not from Canada or US, right? So I just wonder, is it gonna include everyone, or is it just built to protect specific groups? Because if you go at the beginning, they're literally saying who it's supposed to protect. Anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, homophobia, and transphobia. And we know it's okay to make fun of Christians, but it's not okay to make fun of other religions. So are we gonna get equal on this or not anymore? Also, me stating this, is that a hate speech? I hope not, because I'm just standing my ground, right? There's a quote. Canadians deserve to live freely in their communities regardless of color of their skin, the God they pray to, or the person they love. Sadly, incidents of hate against entire communities have taken these freedoms from too many of our neighbors. This legislation strengthens protection against hate, so Canadians of all races and ethnicities, faith, sexualities, and genders can feel safe in their communities and be free to celebrate their identities. like I said, I think the issue is justice system, not hate speech. Like in Ontario, look at Ontario, look at GTA, Great Toronto Area, right? It's like Grand Theft Auto. They're robbing the LCBO, they're robbing the jewelry stores. You have home invasions, and the police literally tells you, hey, if someone invades your house, just give them whatever they want. I don't know. And here you hear or read that the biggest issue is hate crime. I don't think so. I don't know. Again, hate crime, definitely big no-no. Don't do it. It's not worth it. We're all equal. Charlie Kirk said actually a great thing that in our DNA, according to the DNA, you can't find out how much melatonin the person has, right? Melatonin decides the color of the skin. So according to the DNA, you can't really find the race of the person. So racism itself, it's not coded in our DNA. It's something the humans created. So again, big no-no, hate speech. You don't have to do it, don't do it. Oh, here we go. Quick fact. The number of police reported hate crimes increased in 2024 as compared to the previous year. Of these hate crimes, most targeted race or ethnicity and religion. Where's the number? I want to know number. You know what? I'm gonna look into it. Hate crime in Canada. 2024, I guess. $443 in 2024. Obviously, it's 443 more than it should be. But what about home invasions? What about robberies? And all of that, right? Like, that's definitely more than 443. Let's say home invasions. With one organized, no, amount. Yeah, give me a number. So in 2024, or 2023, I'm not sure right now, but it was 5,672 incidents per 100,000 population. Like for city of Toronto, if we're doing average, the home invasions were like 1,000 times more, probably even more. No, well, around 100, maybe 1,000 times more than hate crime for the whole country. So really, like, why are we creating this specific bill that can actually cause more harm than good, right? It's kind of ridiculous. Anyway, most police reported hate crimes targeting religion were direct. Most police reported hate crimes targeting religion were directed towards Jewish 68% and Muslim 17% populations. Since 2020, black people have been the most frequently targeted population as victims of hate crimes motivated by race or ethnicity, accounting for 37% of these hate crimes in 2024. So remember, 2024 was under 450 cases of hate crime, comparing to, damn, what's the population of Canada? 20 million or 40? Well, home invasions are much higher. It's almost 6,000 per 100,000 of population. Again, hate crime, bad. Don't do it. If you do it, you should face consequences for sure. Oh wait, we're talking hate crime and not hate speech. The bill would not enact bubble zones that create protest-free areas around designated buildings. Bubble zones laws are enacted by provinces and municipalities. For example, some provinces has established access zones around abortion clinics, and some municipalities have enacted bubble zones by laws to provide for safe access to facilities like school, daycares, and place of worships. Okay, my question and big question regarding aborting clinics. So if I'm saying that because you decide to have an abortion, you're a murderer, is that gonna be a hate speech? Because I'm standing out for the rights of the unborn child, right? You're literally killing an unborn child. But by calling you murderer, is that going to classify as hate speech? And see, that's the issue I have with this update of Bill C9. It looks like such a broad spectrum that if someone wants to get you in trouble, they might be able to easily do that, right? Anyway, there's a definition of the hatred on this part. Hate crime offense. Proposed hate crime offense would apply to anyone committing a federal crime that is motivated by hatred based on specific grounds such as race, sexual orientation, religion, or sex. The penalty for the new hate crime offense would reflect the... Okay, let's go all the way here. The maximum penalty would increase to 10 years on indictment. So I guess no catch and release for hate speech or hate crime. Well, let's hope all of these criminals also commit a hate crime and hence hate speech, so we finally keep them in prison, right? Hate propaganda offense targeting display or hate or terrorism. So this is actually very funny. I was having kind of a discussion with ChatGPT regarding this. Because remember how we had a lot of pro-Palestinian protests that were actually without permit? Well, apparently cops, according to ChatGPT, just decided not to shut them down because it was easier for them, like administrative and everything. But including in those pro-Palestine protests, you always find some bad apples that are there to support Hamas with the signs Hamas. Did they get charged of something? Because it's against the law to promote terrorism, right? And nothing happened to them. So again, kind of weird. And again, displaying terrorism or promoting terrorism was illegal even before this Bill C9 update. And then we go the swastika, illegal. In my country, Czech Republic, it was always illegal. However, we know that swastika itself is used in the Indian culture as well, right? So in that case, it's going to be allowed. Yeah, so it's kind of, again, I don't know what to feel about it. Obviously, swastika is bad. And when I saw it once at work, drawn on the wall, and I'm like, hey, to my supervisor, I'm like, hey, there's swastika. What the hell? And in the end, they played it off that we have a lot of Indian employees, so it was for Diwali. Yeah. I'll let you make your own opinion, but like I said, swastika, again, no. We're not going to promote Nazism. We're not going to promote Hitler. Like, come on. But the thing is that you have these two usages, and I'm kind of afraid of that. Here we go. Definition of hatred. The bill would add a definition of hatred to the criminal code that is based on Supreme Court of Canada, blah, blah, blah. Definition of the hatred would clarify when conduct... where are we? Okay, the definition focuses on concepts of detestation or vilification and specifies what is not hatred, namely mere dislike or disdain or acts that merely offend or humiliate. So that should be that sounds positive, right? Like you just having a different opinion or stereotyping, again, not ideal, but it should not automatically send you to prison. But we saw the similar laws in the UK and it always backfired. Like it always affects the freedom of speech. So yeah, there's one other big issue, this streamline the process to lay hate propaganda charges. So up until now, you needed Attorney General to consent to lay charges for like hate crime, right? But this bill would remove the requirement for Attorney General consent to lay charges for any hate propaganda offense, streamlining the process for law enforcement to more effectively address such cases. By removing this step, law enforcement would be able to act quickly to counter hate speech and protect communities. Well, it was kind of a safeguard, so people don't use it against you, like don't abuse it. That's the word I'm looking for. So this might be a big issue. We'll see how it's actually gonna work, but like I said, I lived in the Middle East, in the country, pardon me, in a country that looks like it has most of the freedom, right? Well, the most of the freedom is until you piss off someone who's local. Like me and my wife, we went to the mall, and obviously in Muslim country, you're supposed to cover your shoulders and knees as a woman, right? My wife had a little bit shorter skirt. It was above her knees. She walked in the mall multiple times in the same shorts or skirt. I think it was shorts. Doesn't matter. Well, this one time, the local lady called the cops on her and she got the ticket. It wasn't a fine, it was more like warning, but still. And what I'm afraid of is that it's going to be similar with this bill. That it's going to be okay as long as you're going to have a different opinion than someone else. And who knows what's going to be a hatred, right? Like if you say that Israel is bombing all other Muslim countries around for no reason with some hidden agenda, is that going to be a hate speech or no? And since we're talking about Israel and Palestine, it needs to stop. I'm not on one side or another. I think it's one country is bad, the other one is bad as well. Like each one have their own issues. And right now the biggest issue is that they're killing innocent civilians. So it needs to stop. And, well, with a smooth transition, well, since we're talking about Palestine, this is the second news that I want to talk about. And it's Mark Carney says Canada recognizes a Palestinian state. Man, we're never gonna get a trade deal with United States. Get used to it. Get used to the grocery prices growing. But anyway, so Mark Carney announced it today, September 21st, on Sunday. And obviously, one of the important things to mention is, yes, we're recognizing the state of Palestine right now. However, there are some conditions, and the conditions are that Palestine will hold a general election in 2026 in which Hamas can play no part. And also, they need to demilitarize the Palestinian state. So this is more like kind of public opinion thing than it. Right now, it doesn't really affect Canadians, but obviously it opens the door for more immigration policies and everything like that, right? And with Mark Carney and the Liberals and the way they let the government for past 10 years, I think we can expect that we're gonna get more refugees from Palestine. And that's what I said, that we're gonna come back to this Bill C9 update. Remember? It fights against Islamophobia. So my question is, for some reason we're still caring more about foreign policy, and in this case I would almost include the hate speech bill as a foreign policy. I know it affects Canada, but it doesn't really solve the biggest crimes in Canada. Like, look, 450 hate crimes all over Canada. That's not something that would make me feel unsafe to go out at night, right? I would feel safer if they got rid of a stabbing, shooting, home invasions, all of that, right? Like 450, again, it's not a good thing. We should have zero hate crimes. But I would rather Department of Justice to focus on what the real problem is, and the same with Mark Carney, just focus on Canada first, and then something like foreign policy, right? We're still sending humanitarian aid to Palestine, so this has no effect to that. But yeah, like, I don't know, I think it's a bad move to recognize State of Palestine right now when the official government of Palestine is Hamas. I know we condemn Hamas since they're a terrorist organization, but at the same time, like, look, if you have an election in 2026 and let's say the Democratic Party or whatever party they have is going to win, but still 49% of population will support Hamas. Like, now we're supporting country that has an issue with terrorism, harboring terrorists, right? Is that really something we want to do now? Like, for me, the logical step would be once they have elections, then we should like have closer ties with them, recognize the state, and I believe like the Palestinians should have their own state, but yeah, you can't support it right now when they have an issue with terrorism. And again, I'm not on the side of the Israel. I think what's going on in Gaza is horrible and it needs to stop. But yeah, so yeah, but back to that. Like my question is, this hate speech law against Islamophobia, is it possibly the preparation for having more refugees from Palestine or Middle East in general? Like, is it, because the timing's so weird for me, like September 19th and September 21st. Also, let's talk about Charlie Kirk, right, who was a big freedom fighter and he was big about the freedom of speech. And look, our freedom of speech is getting affected like significantly. And they're saying it's not going to affect our freedom of speech, but right now you literally have to think twice even about having a different opinion and about wording it on the internet. Again, like I'm not saying like really evil things that people say on the internet, but now you have to be careful what you're saying, even when you're a good person. I don't know, sounds kind of scary for me. Scary times here in Canada. So let me know what you think about that. And if you like video and want to see more, like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time, even if you don't want to see more.